All right, Sovann, here we are, Virginia
Hey,
Tech.
yeah,
Thanks for coming on.
of course.
Episode 2. Oh, we didn't check.
Yeah, we didn't check.
It's okay. We'll just roll with it.
Okay,
We'll just roll with it.
first with me.
All right, Sovann. Hi. It's nice to be here. Thanks for coming on. How about just to get us started? We were just doing some tabling out there, so trying to catch our breath a little bit. Just jumping right in. But how about you want to share a little bit about your background, about like what's your church experience growing up? What was that like? How much exposure did you have? What was kind of your thoughts when you were, I don't know, high school, as a kid, about God, church, that kind of thing? And you could talk about how you're from Kentucky.
Yeah, totally. So I was actually born in Virginia. I was born in Hampton, and I lived for 9 years in Williamsburg. And then my grandparents were getting older, so my parents actually had us move to Kentucky to join the rest of our family. And I never went to church or anything for those first 9 years. My parents aren't really that religious, and they aren't Christian, so it's not like they had a reason to take us to church or anything. But when I moved to Kentucky, my aunts and my uncle actually started taking me and my brother to church every Sunday, just because we had nothing really going on the weekends. So they're like, yeah, you're just going to come with us. And then so we started going to church. It was a Chinese church, actually, Louisville Chinese Christian.
That's the one that Elton goes to too?
Yeah, that was the one he grew up in. And I've been pretty much going there ever since. Yeah.
What's it like? Is it, can you kind of paint a picture of what that Chinese church is like?
Oh yeah, so it's mostly like some older folks, like couples who already had their kids move on to college or are like full time by now. And so it was mostly just like older folks who predominantly spoke Mandarin or Cantonese, a little bit less English. And that translated into our sermons as well. The pastors we've had before always spoke Mandarin, and then the translation would have to catch up with the English. And that would be side by side, sentence by sentence for a while.
Wow, so it's like it's going back and forth mid-message.
Yeah,
Like
pretty much every sentence.
every sentence.
Yeah, but they changed that when we went virtual for COVID, so that now you can get you pretty much join like a audio call for the other language. So whether it's an English speaker or a Mandarin or Cantonese speaker, then like the translator will speak into like a microphone, and that'll just be playing in like people's ears.
So it's pretty Chinese.
Yeah, it's pretty Chinese.
It's pretty Chinese because there's churches where it's like mostly Chinese people, but everything's in English. But this sounds like it's mostly in Chinese and it accommodates English speakers. Is it like that?
Yeah, pretty much. They've been moving into more English speaking now, just because the demographic we're starting to see is predominantly English speaking. Like people like me growing up in the church and becoming older, coming back for like holidays or whatever, we pretty much only speak English now. So it's been changing a lot. And then we've also been seeing other people join us who don't speak Chinese or any other language except English. So we're starting to see a bigger shift towards English now.
So what was your experience like? Because how's your Chinese? And then you didn't grow up going to church before that. And then is your Chinese pretty good?
Oh, no, not at all.
So then that's all, from my perspective, that's like two things that are pretty big that make it a little bit challenging for you to get connected. But I think it's also kind of a relatable experience. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was pretty much like a double whammy. I didn't have any experience going to church or understanding any sort of religion before that. And I didn't speak the predominant language at my church either. So I was this kind of sucks, because at the beginning I couldn't really piece together the sermons that I would sit through, because it was sentence by sentence. So I was hearing the next part of the message every 30 seconds. And for a 9-year-old sitting through church, it's a tiny bit boring.
And this is adult service.
Yeah. I was in adult service for a couple weeks.
Wow.
Starting out.
Yeah.
And I was wow, this is really slow. I don't really get it either.
Yeah.
I haven't opened a Bible at that point yet.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
9 years old at an adult service, half the language is something that you don't quite, and then it's like spiritual language too. So it's probably words you're not familiar with.
Yeah, they're pretty much, they might as well have been speaking a different language.
Yeah.
For me, even in English.
Yeah. If I were to send a Korean message, because I don't know the Korean spiritual words. It's like words you don't really use in everyday language. So then
Yeah.
I don't understand it. So, man, but did you stick through that? Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
kept going week after week?
Yeah, it also helps that at that time the kids ministry was taught by a white guy.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was always in English, but it was very fluent English. Like it's stuff I could very easily understand, and it's like kids ministry, so it's not like the lessons were like too heavy or hard to understand anyway. So I was able to get a good feel for like who God is and what He has done.
I see.
Yeah.
So then at one point, did things kind of come together for you? Like in terms of Christianity, church, God, your own personal faith? Was it kind of just coasting for a little while, or like where do you think you kind of took it kind of more seriously?
I would honestly describe most of my church experience as coasting. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I kind of just treated it more as like moral lessons, where like I understood like religion is a way for us to find meaning, and a lot of these things are like ways we should live our life in accordance to what we're supposed to believe.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm Christian, and I'll just follow with like whatever they're teaching me. Like I understand like the Christian lifestyle is a very good lifestyle, and it's something that I would want to do. But I never understood why we would want to live our lives that way, or why like my life has meaning. Well, I never like got around to like the really heavy questions for a long time. And that was most of my middle school and high school years. It wasn't until college I started taking things a lot more seriously.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But you're hearing Bible content, I guess. But it just, yeah.
But it was still like children's ministry for the most part, and
I
then
see.
youth ministry. It's still very, very shallow in a way, where it's
Yeah.
very surface level understanding. Like it was a lot of the Genesis and the basic gospel of Jesus, like especially around Christmas and Easter.
Yeah. I know what you mean. That I would say more or less describes my experience as well. I want to say I slept through more Sundays than I was awake in high school because I had stayed up too late playing video games. And then my mind, even when I was awake, was still on video games at church.
Oh yeah.
Just to be honest. But so, okay, this is one of these like pastoral questions, or not pastoral, but like questions that pastors ask each other. But do you feel like from as someone who went through all that, is that like, you think it's just your age kind of thing, and college is the first time you have space to think about it, or do you think there's something different kind of going on there? Because it could just be like, it's hard for a 13-year-old, 14-year-old to really think about life and stuff, and then college is kind of the first time you have that. It's like this right season of life to ask the big questions because there's so much available to you in college. Or how would you kind of describe that?
No, I would say that for sure, because growing up in like middle school and high school, I was really focused on what am I going to do with my life? Like, what will my career look like? Where I was pretty much working towards whatever club or whatever like assignment or homework I would have, studying, just being a student really. And that took up most of my time like as a teen. And then when I came into college, I had space. I only had to go to class like couple hours a day, and instead of being at school for like most of my waking hours, I had more time to think about what I was doing and what I wanted to do, like just the questions you would ask anyone, like, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Yeah. And it's also like college is like such a place where you can find like college is the only place where you can find such a large group of peers, or at least like-minded individuals who are like around your age. So I was meeting people from like different backgrounds, like different religions, different beliefs, and so I was like wondering why they believed these things, or why I didn't believe those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think there is something very special about college. Yeah, that's why I think that's what really drew me to doing college ministry, putting so much time there. Because I think even for me, that's what you're describing resonates with my experience. So then Elton, and we got to bring Elton into this.
Yeah. My cousin.
Yeah, double cousins.
Yeah, double
I think you're the
cousins.
first double cousins I've ever met.
Should I explain this for the podcast?
Yeah, you can explain it.
So my mom is like her sister is my cousin Elton's mom, but my dad, who married my mom, his brother is also Elton's dad. Like Elton's parents met first, and then my parents met through them. But it's like we pretty much share like identical blood because we're from like the same two families. So it's
Double cousins. Basically
yeah.
siblings.
Yeah. Pretty much just blood brothers.
All right, we have to ask this question. This is like low-hanging fruit. You got to describe what Elton was like when you were younger. How would you describe him? Was he mean? Was he nice? Any stories about that?
Oh, he was like super dependable because
Dependable.
yeah, because when I had just moved here with like my family, like him and his older brother Kerry were like just at that high school, like about to enter college age. So they knew how to drive, they could take care of us when our parents were busy. They'd hang out with us because they kind of were told to, you know. So like they just loves to spend time with us. And so I would say like yeah, super dependable. They're always available like to make time for me and my brother when my parents were busy at work or when there was just something to do or they had a place to be and we couldn't be there. Yeah, super.
Wow,
super
what a good cousin.
Yeah, he's great.
I was hoping for something juicier, but
Well,
no, it's okay.
No, I got you. I got you.
You got me.
You
Okay.
want to hear something? Yeah. So I distinctly remember one specific time. I think I was just about like freshman year of high school. Elton picked me up for whatever reason. We're going somewhere, and he was driving.
Yeah.
He was going a little fast.
Okay.
And he was playing FDT. If you don't know what that song is, F Donald Trump.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, huh, yeah, this guy's kind of cool.
This is high school.
Yeah. And this is the point of his life where like, even if he was already wearing a jacket, he had a vest on. Yeah.
All right.
And so he'd have the hood up and stuff. You know, he was just cool.
He was cool.
Yeah.
All right. Elton. Man. And then, so big figure in your life. I'm guessing it's through him that you got connected to our church and Axiom Network and all that. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then, can you tell that story a little bit?
Yeah, I'll actually take that back even further. Like
Okay.
when I was in high school, I think I was 16. We were over for dinner at some point. For context, Elton's folks like lived down the street from us in the same neighborhood, and so it was like I think it was just after dinner sometime. He pulled me and my brother aside and just like he was like, "Do you know like what the gospel means?" And I of course said no because I never really kind of
went for
understood.
it.
I was coasting, you know. And so
Yeah.
he sat me down. He did 6 words. He did the
Life in 6 words?
Yeah, life in 6 words.
Okay.
Yeah, and just walked me through it. And then he did the explanation like, God wanted us to be with him, sin tore us apart, Jesus died on the cross for our sins,
Wow.
brought us back together, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he pretty much had me and my brother to that extent, like come to like a salvation decision that night.
Right there.
Yeah.
He just went for it.
Yeah, he pretty much did. He was like, do you want to give your life to Christ?
Wow. That's bold. That's awesome.
Yeah, I felt so much emotion that night that I couldn't understand at the time.
Really?
And it wasn't until like recently,
Huh.
like when I started like really thinking about my faith, like even like a lot more recently, I started to understand like, yeah, like, this
Yeah,
is
can you
amazing.
share that? Because you always wonder when you're going through like sharing the gospel with somebody. I mean, you have your church background, so you've been going to church, so it's not like this was brand new, I guess.
Yeah.
But can you kind of share like, what is that experience like being on the receiving end of that? And then now that you've had some time to think about it, like some of those, you said there was a lot of emotions that you were feeling. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, so it's like I was saying earlier, I was really just coasting. I guess you could say like I was really taking like the message of the gospel for granted. Like Jesus really did die for us, and God gave his only son to save the world. And then I think that night, I don't even think like I actually processed the thought, but I was like, wow, there's so much grace and so much love that my heart like is hurting for the world. Where it's like God loved us so much, even in all of our sin, like he still wanted us to be with him and to keep that relationship. And I think I just was just so emotional because I've never like understood the gospel before that. To hear it like this, with the 6 sentences like spelled out very clearly, I was like, this is why we go to church. This is why we celebrate and worship God.
So just the truth of those 6 words, the sentences and what's packed in there, it just resonated, and you're like, you said this is true internally, and it everything just kind of clicked.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Because I guess like I didn't really get the message that church was telling me like all those weeks. Where I was just kind of like, oh yeah, it's just like a lifestyle thing. Like this is just to be a good person.
Yeah.
But it's so much more.
Yeah, that's I've talked to a lot of college students. I think that is a very common experience where people feel like their takeaway from church is they should be a good person. And so sometimes they feel guilty, sometimes they feel proud if they're able to do it, or confused about it all. But then this idea that it's about grace and forgiveness and Jesus dying on the cross. That's a message that it does sometimes take time to sink in, and it's almost like, that would be very confusing for someone that grew up going to church, that like this is something to respond to. But I guess with your since you didn't go to church till like after 9, so it's kind of half of your childhood. Mm-hmm. Although the more consequential half, maybe like the older half, but
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so then he says that, you're emotional, and then did you respond right there, or?
Oh, I did say yes.
You said yes.
I did say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did make that salvation decision that night, and so did my brother.
Yeah. Wow. Elton.
Yeah, go Elton.
Yeah. Okay, and then what happened after that?
Not much, to be honest. Yeah, that was. I guess that was the really unfortunate part about that, is that I got so consumed with my college applications to figure out where I would be, because the way that I was seeing it and the way that my parents saw it was that college will determine your life. Because the opportunities you would find at like different colleges are all different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to like set yourself straight, put yourself on the right path, you got to get into a really good one. Especially for what I want to do, computer science, or at least something related to a computer. That really mattered at the time. So I was so consumed with going to see like a couple schools on tour, or like really doubling down, like making sure like my high school GPA was good, making sure I was hitting all those like AP credits that I could hit. I was just so consumed with my education again. I was so consumed with the idea of being a student that I just went right back to it. Yeah.
And then that brought you all the way to college, I'm assuming. And then in college, what was that like? Like, you've made that decision, but now you're in college. And then kind of talk about that, maybe that first year.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I had all that space to myself. I was living in a dorm. I was like 7 hours away from my parents, and this was the furthest I've been for the longest amount of time.
Freedom.
Yeah, I had a lot of freedom, and I think I certainly abused it a little. Yeah,
probably every college student.
Yeah, but I was pretty much just moving on with my life. Like I had so much space and new things to do, new people to meet, new classes to attend, new clubs to join. I was still consumed with the idea of being a student. So I would work hard, but then I would play just as hard. Whereas like I would have my work done by Friday, so I would have a free weekend to like go out, go do things with my friends, go downtown, even as an 18-year-old, like all sorts of stuff where I was just like really maximizing my college experience, the freedom I get as a college student.
Yeah. Are you okay sharing about
Yeah,
that a little
yeah.
bit? Like, what was, so you have the freedom, you exercise that freedom, you go downtown. What's kind of like your takeaway from that? Like, what's that, how did that experience, what did that experience do for you, I guess?
Well, honestly, not much. Like you just kind of like you just drink and like just go hang out, and that's pretty much like just another social gathering, except it's with people you just don't know. Yeah, like my first week, like at Virginia Tech, like I was a freshman, I was hanging out. The guys across from me knocked on my door and said, "What's up?" And those are my boys though. That's Mason and Jide. And so they're like, "Yeah, so we're gonna hang out and stuff. You want to just join me?" And so I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go," because I didn't know anybody on my floor at that time. So I was just hanging out with them, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go downtown." I was like, "Yeah, I'll go downtown." Yeah, I wanted to try it anyway.
Yeah.
And so it was just us and like like a couple other dudes from our dorm. We would just go downtown like at least once a month or like every couple weeks, and we would just go. Yeah.
So then that's your freshman year. And then were you able to find a church, or how does that work?
No, I had really bad luck planning my schedules for like my first couple years.
Yeah.
Where I would have like classes all the way at 8 a.m., but then I would have classes at 4 o'clock. So I have to be on campus all day and study. And then that time in between, like you can't really do much, so you just kind of do work, like sit down and find some place to do work. So I had like long schedules like for most of the week. And whenever I didn't like have class, I was probably working on something because at that point I was writing papers for my English classes or programming for my CS classes, doing projects. So when I wasn't like out and like partying and stuff, I was doing some work. So I couldn't really, I guess it was a good excuse for me not to be able to fit in a church like in my college life. Especially since I was making such a shift in the way I was living. But I did try a little bit, like that first couple months where I was looking. I tried BCM, and I thought they were great, but their times just didn't work for me because they were meeting during the week when I had class. I can't be in two places at once, and I was still prioritizing my classes since I was new.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then that kind of, I'm guessing it was sophomore year that things kind of changed, or?
Yeah, I started wondering more about like what am I doing? I already knew like I didn't want to keep like going downtown and like clubbing and stuff because it felt empty. It was more just a way for me just to hang out with the guys on my floor or whatever. So I was already slowly moving away from that. But like I was just looking at the habits that I was starting to develop, like poor sleep schedules because I was either up doing work or up hanging out all the time, and like I started to drink like a good amount. Where I was just like looking at those habits and like thinking to myself like, is this what I want to do? Is this why I came to college?
Do you know what was motivating that, or?
Well, it started socially. We would pregame and then go downtown because if we just bought the drinks ourselves, it was cheaper. So we would pregame, go downtown, come back. And then like we would just hang out sometimes and just drink. Yeah. Play cards, do whatever.
And then you're saying it kind of took a momentum of its own, it kept going.
Yeah. I started to just like have a couple beers when I studied, or like was just like if I was just trying to relax, I would just drink a little. Yeah. It started to become never to the point where I was like super drunk. I always like tried to be moderate and I had like a good tolerance. But it was to the point where it's like I was consistently like drinking something like every 3 to 4 days. Like even during the week. Where I was just doing work in my room.
And then that, you're saying that was one of the motivating factors where you felt like you wanted some change.
Yeah. Because my dad drinks a lot. Like
Okay.
he used to drink like almost with every meal. And he's like never overdid it or anything. So my mom tolerated it for a long time. But it was to the point where, like, it was around that time where she was forcing him to slow down because she knew it would be bad for his liver if he kept going, like, on that trajectory. So it was a lot less drinking. I was seeing that in my parents when I was home for breaks, and I was like, huh, like, they don't know I drink, but I do. And, like, I don't want that to be, like, any sort of consequence I could have, like, when I'm older. Because, like, I was seeing like studies online, like people like as soon as 25 having liver failure. So I was like, oh boy, I don't want that. Yeah, like it was like health motivated at first.
And then how did that lead to, I guess, you're saying that led you to seeking God more in like sophomore year and that kind of stuff. How did that happen?
Yeah, so it was more about like the values I was supposed to like embody, like as a Christian, like.
So you're feeling guilty.
Yeah, I felt a lot of guilt and shame about my lifestyle. Yeah.
And then it's tough to know what to do with that.
Yeah, I never had a good outlet for that either. Like I didn't have a church here. A lot of my friends weren't Christian or like kind of like me where like they like went to church at home but they didn't do anything like that here. They lived a completely different life.
Yeah. And then how did that lead to AWC and all that?
Yeah. So I was like wrestling with those feelings of guilt and shame for like a long time. I would say at least a year and a half, where I was just like constantly feeling like I was doing something wrong with my life. And so that made me examine like pretty much everything I was doing, from like why I wanted to do like a technology oriented job, or like why I decided to go to an out of state school instead of just like taking it easy like in state where I could have been free or at least very cheap and not have to care so much about my classes. And then I had to look at the friends I was making, who I was spending my time with, the things I was doing with them, and the things I was doing in my own time. So
You're asking some big questions.
yeah,
You're kind of questioning your whole life there.
I really was. I had a period like for like a week where like I felt so down about myself because everything felt so fake. Where it's like why are we like in school? Like why can't we just enter the professional world at 18? Like why do I need to pursue a higher education for a job I'm seeing AI do, where they're not even people? Like what makes me any less qualified to live the life that I thought I would have? But I have to be at school, I have to be away from my parents, and I have to figure out all these things on my own, like getting a place for myself once I was off campus, like starting to manage my time better because I have to do my own chores now. Like I was just figuring out so much in my life like in that span, and it was messy. It was really messy.
Yeah, which maybe was what I'm just guessing here, but like maybe what kind of drew you to drinking, and you don't have to think about all that.
Yeah, exactly. I could just forget, or at least take it easy. Yeah, exactly.
It was kind of a release of sorts, but that created a different cycle that had a pool of its own, that took you in a path that made you feel guilty and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I was starting to struggle with my classes a little. Like I'm not a school guy, and like my classes were starting to get harder, especially like sophomore year when you get into like your actual majors things instead of general education classes. Like getting into like harder classes that I actually need to pay a lot more attention to, spend more time every week on. The projects are harder, the papers are longer, and then I was starting to think about my job because I was going home every holiday and my parents were asking, well, have you started thinking about applying to places, getting an internship? And I was looking at the market and it was not looking good. And then AI was starting to become really big. And so I was hearing all these news about AI taking entry-level jobs just like the ones I was applying for. And I was seeing that happen in real time online. And I was...
What is life?
Yeah, like what am I doing here?
Yeah,
like I could have chose anything else to do with my life at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that made me turn to like, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it.
Yeah. That made me turn to like just finding ways where I just didn't have to think about it all. Where I just could take it easy.
and just drinking, hanging out with the guys.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah,
outlet.
yeah, low commitments. They don't really care like what major you are, because we're all people from different backgrounds and different things we wanted to do.
They don't have expectations
Yeah,
for
there was
you.
low expectations. They're just here like just to hang out, just to hang.
Yeah. But I guess ultimately, that's not what you wanted.
Yeah, I was looking for. I was really looking for a reason to continue like education.
Mm.
Yeah, because I was really starting to think like, if there's no point to me going to school anymore, if less qualified things can easily replace me,
Yeah.
like what am I doing? Like why don't I just drop out and just like spend like a year or so like just getting some certifications so I'd be entry level?
Mm-hmm.
Like what is stopping me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is
And,
stopping you?
thankfully, like I've realized there are like a good amount of things that are stopping me.
Yeah.
Like my parents, for one, they would probably not be happy. They're sending their son to an out of state tuition school, where they're expecting me to like at least use the knowledge I've learned here and the resources my school has available to find something.
Mm-hmm.
I think myself, I would just hate that I kind of left it half done. Like hate the way I was thinking. I was just be unhappy at myself for choosing that path instead.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the stuff that you're grappling with is fascinating because it's definitely something that I didn't have to grapple with when I was in college. But I think probably my guess is that a lot of people can resonate with how you're feeling. I actually know somebody that did drop out and went for, they were an engineer and then they dropped out and then just went for certification. Exactly, getting a certification.
Yeah,
And,
the FE.
I forgot which one, but he decided to just go into HVAC actually.
Oh, HVAC.
Yeah, because
That is pretty good money.
Because he was like AI is taking all the CS jobs and that kind of thing. But
Yeah, that I can feel that, especially with a lot of my friends, because most of us are engineering or CS or
Yeah.
something computer related at that point,
yeah,
where we're seeing like all these jobs just being scooped up
yeah,
and feeling like we're feeling pretty hopeless because these classes that we have now are really challenging. They take a lot out of us,
Yeah.
and by no means are like easy to achieve like a good grade.
yeah,
So like we're seeing ourselves go through so much just
For
for
what?
like
Yeah.
just for like no guarantee we can have something anymore.
yeah. You're
like
breaking your
of
back
college.
and you're taking on the stress and you're taking on the workload and you're like, I don't even know where this is all headed.
Yeah.
And it's it feels like there's that, they say the way to break a man is not to give them hard work but to give them meaningless work. It's to like dig a ditch and then fill it back and dig a ditch and fill it back and eventually
Yeah.
you'll break a man. Yeah, I wonder if my son will even go to college. Some people are like, oh, you should save for college, but I'm like, I actually don't know if he's actually going to. I feel like it's a 50-50, to be honest.
Well, you could turn that college fund into a house. Yeah,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be bad either. Yeah.
Maybe that's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you're kind of a unique situation because we don't have like an official ministry here in Virginia Tech, but you have this strong connection with Elton, and we have a group. He moves to Charlottesville to help with the ministry at UVA, and now we're here. What was your experience like with our network, like with X2 Network? Like, how has that been? Like, what's kind of your overall, can you kind of talk about that? Because it is interesting that I think there's a growing group of people that can kind of be in the same experience as you, but how has it been for you? And how have you been kind of growing in your faith with this kind of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, well, I started coming. It was I think the first time I went to see you guys was actually for Elton and Anna's baby shower. Like it didn't.
Oh, that was the first one.
Yeah, I knew at that point because I'd heard like the summer before that semester that like Elton and Anna are going to be moving down to Charlottesville.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's so close. Like,
Yeah.
I have a car. Like, I'm off campus. Like I could definitely be there. So I was happy about that, but I was still like pretty stagnant. Like I was still just coasting along. Like I was still wrestling with those hard questions even like this year. And then like they just had me come, and I was like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, I'll just come. So I pull up, and it's like I think you guys were still like in the middle of like one of your like, it was like the college mentor thing, or something where it's like the youth leaders.
Was it? I think it was the student leader.
Yeah, student leader thing.
Yeah, D group. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I just pull up, and and it was like, oh yeah, they're done. So like, just go sit down and like say hi. So I sit. So I walk over. I like turn the corner, like, and I see everyone sitting there. I like, they still look like they're talking, but Anna said they're done. I'm gonna go sit down. So I sit in the back, and like in unison, like everyone turns towards me and is like, who is this guy?
They're not done.
They're not done. And so I'm like, they are not done. Let me get up.
Yeah.
And I went back and I was like, they're not done. They're not done. Yeah. But after that, like I got to like meet some of those folks. I got to meet, it was mostly AB, Gabe. And I got to meet them.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're like, everyone's been super welcoming. It does help that like I kind of have like a bit of a connection because of Elton.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, you guys kind of do look similar. Yeah. And so it was like just being able to like meet people, just like get a feel for it. And I think it was exactly what I wanted. Like I guess my home church, like growing up, like L3C, it was very small. Like you could count like the number of families like pretty much like by hand. Like it was like a lot of the same people every week. Small church, tight knit.
Yeah.
And I think that was just what I was searching for, like a place where I could feel seen, like be able to make like genuine personal connections. So I went home later. I was like, yeah, that was great. Like it was very positive for me.
And then that was kind of the beginning of what are some things that stand out to you that like your experience with our church and stuff? Like, is it from there? Because it's not like we have Sunday service at Virginia Tech. It's not like we have Bible studies here. You come like maybe once a month. And then was the next kind of thing after that? What was the next thing after that?
Yeah, I had a long weekend. I think it was my fall break. Virginia Tech only gives like that Friday off.
Yeah.
For fall break. So it was pretty much just a 3-day long weekend. Yeah. So I just came because I had nothing better to do that week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just came, hung out. Caleb was born by then, so I just got to like see him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just hang out with the little guy. Come to service, you know. Yeah.
So before AWC, it was only like a few times, like a handful of times.
Yeah,
kind of
much.
Getting connected. And then I guess AWC was your first time really getting a deep dive into the network as a whole.
Yeah, X2 as a whole.
Yeah, what was AWC like from your perspective?
Well, it was pretty good. I liked it a lot. Like I did Model UN and like state legislature, like model state legislature in like high school and middle school. So I already had a feel for like larger conventions. My high school was pretty big too, so it's not like I was afraid of like meeting a lot of people or seeing a lot of people at once. So I was going into this conference with like relatively high expectations because everyone was like hyping it up. I was hearing all these like good things from like a couple other folks in the group, and I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. And I came and like to Elgin, and it was a blast. Like I loved it a lot because it was making me face doubts that I had that I didn't really even know. Like why does God allow suffering, or why doesn't he just stop evil people if he knows they will commit evil? Were things I had never thought about before because I was just coasting along in church, coasting along in life, taking everything for granted.
You're talking about those workshops.
Yeah, the workshops. And also like Cliff Knechtley's sermon. I'd already seen him at that point. He came to Virginia Tech the semester before. But hearing him speak about how like everyone has God-given talents and gifts, and we are to use them to put ourselves in positions where we can love others and help others, like serve our people, serve our community. That's what it clicked for me. Like, yeah, my college isn't a waste. Like I'm just like I'm actually here for a reason. That was the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you would you say was it at AWC you made like a significant decision, or
Yeah.
you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So it was actually a different sermon. It was J.D. Greer's.
Mm.
He was talking about you can't just do halves with God. You have to
Yeah.
give that blank check.
Yeah.
And I went I went and like thought about it really hard at the reflection time.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I don't even think I'm giving half to God. Like for all that salvation decision like gave me, it gave me nothing like it gave me nothing meaningful I was basing my life around. I had to change. And it was that night I was like, yeah, I gotta recommit myself.
Yeah.
That was because at that point I had heard Cliff Connectley's sermon the day before.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, my college is not a waste. I'm here because I have things that I like and I want to transform that into like a job.
Yeah.
And then I heard J.D. Greer's sermon that night, and I was like, yeah, I'm not giving my all to God. I'm not centering my life around God in my life. Like
Yeah.
I'm just not like not doing anything meaningful with my Christian lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a powerful message. I remember, and then he had that call to ministry, and hundreds walked up.
Yeah.
I was very shocked by that. Just felt like that was a holy moment right there. But yeah, I think what you're talking about is very relatable. I think a lot of people's experience growing up in church centers around salvation, but not lordship. And I think that's what J.D. Greer's message really honed in on, that idea of giving God the blank check.
Yeah.
Is Jesus Christ is my Savior and my Lord, where, and that's the thing I think is one of the most misunderstood things about Christianity, where people don't realize that following Jesus involves more than identifying as a Christian and seeing myself as a sinner and the cross, but it actually involves how I live my life. It's like a following. It's actually following Jesus, like living the life that He wants me to live. It's a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It completely changed the way I view my current semester. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it been like after that?
I was so moved at that point. I was so moved by that day. I was like, what am I doing with myself?
Yeah.
How could I have even let myself live the life that I lived since 16, since making that decision? Like, it felt like, like my mind was unlocked. Like I understood exactly what I was doing, why I was doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your mind was unlocked.
Yeah.
All those questions that you were asking and you were numbing yourself to and kind of confused about, and then it all kind of clicked together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started to understand like my schooling isn't a waste, and all the effort I was putting in won't be for nothing. Because regardless of how I'll end up, I'll still be able to put myself and put my talents and skills towards like helping my community, helping my people, showing them how much I love them just like Christ loves me, just like what Cliff was talking about. And then the way I would go about that, J.D. Greer's sermon, talking about like, I gotta have Christ as the Lord of my life, where everything I do is for God. I was like, oh, like, yeah, of course, like that is my purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like once you establish the most important first things first, it rightfully places all the second things. Like everything, it's put in its rightful place. Like, and then things start to fit together like it should. Things are not blown out of proportion or they're underappreciated, but it's like God is the biggest reality. And once I adjust to that, all these secondary priorities, which are significant, not insignificant, they're significant, but then it's like, okay, yeah, it's not that I need to find my full identity, purpose, and meaning from my career or these relationships or such. They're very important to me, but it's always felt kind of secondary. And when I try to make it primary, it feels out of place. But now that it is secondary, it feels right. And now I know what to do with it. I know how much effort to put into it. I know like how much significance to put into this. And then I can actually get more satisfaction out of it.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, exactly. I started like I've been like genuinely enjoying my classes this semester.
Fascinating.
Yeah, even though they're supposedly the hardest I'll ever take.
Yeah.
Like, for my major.
Yeah.
Because I'm taking multivariable calculus and computer systems, which is the highest level CS class I can have.
Yeah.
And it's like that it ain't bad.
Yeah.
Like I feel fulfilled and content when I have a busy day where I go to school, I do some work, I eat well for dinner, and then I just maybe study or if I have some time, I'll relax, spend it with some good friends. That feels like a great day to me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating how that works. Not that we're like going for health and wealth here, but there's something about when you put God at the center. God's not anti-pleasure. He is actually, it's like trusting that he's the creator, the designer of life, and he's giving you the blueprint for the best possible life.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
this is actually it's blessed. Like it's blessing will flow as you live out the way that he wants you to live.
Yeah. I have a lot less stress about like what I'll do like after college now. Like I used to be like really worried and I was like applying a ton. Whereas like I was pretty much mass applying to like anything that I could see that like remotely said computer. So I was just applying all the time. I was looking at all these advancements in AI, like all these things that it can do now, where it's like actually taking like not just internship level like positions, it's taking entry level positions for people who already have degrees. And I was like, oh, whatever. Like I just didn't care about it as much. It just I just felt so much less about it because I was having so much more focus on the design God has for my life rather than what I would want for my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. And then it's been neat to see you and Josh.
Yeah.
I'm so glad there's somebody else here that
Yeah.
can kind of share that same background and everything. And how's that been? Hanging
Well, it's
out
been
with
great.
Josh?
Yeah. We've been hanging out like a couple of times, like just for fun. Like we went and played like pickleball like 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I really feel like we got to do more here at Tech. It's not, we've been calling it VTech, but it's Virginia Tech or Tech.
Yeah.
So at Tech, we got to do more at Tech.
Yeah. I actually was talking about it. I think it was with Johnson. Like VTech is like a company. Like it's like an
Oh, is
actual
that
company.
right?
Yeah. So like when people say VTech, you mean like some people here they know the company. They're like, huh? The company. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tech.
Yeah. So
Tech.
we just say tech.
Yeah, Tech.
That isn't useful like when you meet other people from polytechnics because
Yeah.
they're all techs.
Yeah, like Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
and
Caltech.
Caltech.
Yeah. So then we have to say Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Virginia Tech.
It works well enough while we're still here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm like wrapping up there. That's a really fascinating story of how God's been leading you. I think basically the way I've kind of been processing what you're saying is there's been some key moments. I think
Yeah.
that move at age 9 and getting connected into Elton's, that same church was, and then hearing those Bible studies and then that memorable conversation with Elton where he did the GOSPEL and shared the gospel with you. And,
Yeah.
things kind of, the foundational gospel message clicked. And I'm sure that really helped you. And then coming to college, and it is confusing. I think it's confusing. I think our culture is super confusing. All the movies, all the TV shows, they celebrate a certain lifestyle. Not because it's fulfilling. Actually, people, like, it's interesting you mentioned drinking because I was just like talking/thinking about this recently where it begins in college as social, but it becomes an emotional crutch later on. And it's a non-productive way to handle the stresses of life, and it takes on a life of its own, and it can end up very destructive.
Yeah. I was starting to see that in myself, and that was what scared me the most.
Yeah, and so it's fascinating that society is so okay with that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's there's all these stories, like even public stories we can get into, which we don't need to go into public figures, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's I think that's that experience, the emptiness, and seeing yourself with all the freedom and exercising that freedom, and eventually that leading to you experiencing the church, and saying, hey, wow, this really clicks all together through AWC, through the local body. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
I feel like God has a plan for my life, and he is clearly, just hearing your story is clearly leading your life, giving you
Yeah.
at the right moment, not too early, not too late, putting the right people in your life. And now here you are at Tech, and man, we've been excited to see what God will do here at Tech.
Yeah, but I'm so thankful I have people like Elton in my life. Even like the other mentors too as well.
Yeah.
But it's like seeing like when I was younger, seeing Elton like become so strong of a Christian like in his college years, and then taking that even further by becoming like helping church plant for colleges. And then his brother Kerry too. He does youth ministry at his own church down in Texas. So seeing like these two figures I would look up to all the time, like being so strong in their faith, like that really helps push me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even now, like I went through Course 101 again, so I'd have like a better feel for that with Elton. And we do like him, me, and Josh. We try to do like semi-weekly devotionals now. We'll just follow along with the Acts 2 devotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank God for Zoom. Could
Thank God.
Yeah. We're closer than just 2.5 hours away. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been doing other things too with my life, completely changing it. Yeah, like picking up my Bible again, like actually reading it, doing daily devotionals on my own time,
Yeah.
not drinking anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Praise God.
praise God.
Yeah. We got to do this again before you graduate. Maybe we'll do one.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see how God's been leading you throughout your college career.
Yeah, see the change from now for like another year.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
And of course, thank you for having me.
Yeah.